everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of Bill Has Opinions, where we jump the shark just a little bit each week. I am Laura Lavoie, of course, and I am joined by Bill Perkins, who doesn't even fucking know today.
I don't. I didn't have a cute phrase. I was flustered because there was a rainstorm on the way over here, and then just a bunch of shit was going wrong, and then I had to reboot the computer before we started, and I just didn't have time to think about a cute little thing to put. So Laura said, "What did you mean to put there?" And I was like, "I don't even fucking know."
So I took him literally.
Which I thought was funny to tell when I didn't see it for like several minutes. I think it was like when I was in the middle of the reboot, and I was like, "Oh, haha, that's clever."
That is what I do. These are the services I provide.
Yeah. So anyway,
well, other than being a little flustered, how else are you? What else is going on in your world?
I don't know. I guess things are mostly okay. Trying to think. Yeah, I guess stuff's all right. I got a kid who's starting college at the end of the month. Not the end of this month because it's still July, but it's close enough to August where I'm thinking it's August already, I guess. So got that going on, and then another kid going back to school. Although kind of for the we sent this one kid to school, and she was back a week later, like last year, for her freshman year. So she spent her entire freshman year at home because there was no school to be had really. So she's going away again, and anyway. Hopefully things all work out, but we'll address that again at the end of the show because I've got something to say about all that. Anyway, that's things are mostly optimistic, is I guess what I'm trying to say. But there's a bunch of stuff going on too. So, how are you doing? Sorry, I never.
I am doing peachy keen. It's a weird week at our house because. Everyone who has followed this show for the last 60 episodes know that my wonderful partner, Matt, was in law school. He graduated earlier this year. And tomorrow is the bar exam. So everyone wish him luck. He started tomorrow. It's tomorrow and Wednesday. So it's a 2-day ordeal. It's like the Hunger Games, but more legal.
And less killing.
A little less killing. Some less killing. But that means come Wednesday at 5:30 or whatever, it'll be over. So
he might be an actual lawyer by then.
Well,
he won't know for a while, but
he won't. He'll be one step closer to being an actual lawyer for sure.
Right.
So that is what's going on here. Oh, and we're getting ready for a 2-week road trip to Michigan. So
all right.
Because that's where everyone wants to go on vacation.
I mean, yeah, it's been on my bucket list for ages, and I still haven't gotten up there, So one of these days, though, mark my words, one of these days I'm going to go to Michigan.
All right.
Yeah, it's a thing that's going to happen. I gotta drive all the way to the Upper Peninsula when I go, though, because it's like when are you going to be in the area again, right?
That's true, but here's a fun fact. Driving from the Detroit area to the Upper Peninsula is almost as far as driving from Asheville to the Detroit area.
Yeah, that makes sense because that's basically Canada at that point, You
can actually get to Canada much closer because it's right across there's a part of it right across from Detroit.
Canada is south of Detroit, but there are parts of Canada that,
there's more of Canada that is north of Michigan.
Yes, and the Upper Peninsula is basically in that part of Canada, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
Well, I don't know. It's not something that's going to happen anytime soon, unless I don't know. We'll talk about that at the end of the show.
Maybe one day we'll do a whole Michigan episode after you go up there, and we can talk about all the weird Michigan things.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, that's the thing we'll do.
All right. Well, what are you drinking? What do you have?
Oh, I'm drinking the Elysian Space Dust right now, which is
tasty and boozy.
I told you right before the show began, I said I'm about to get sauced. This is, so I don't usually drink IPAs, first off. I have a few exceptions, and this is one of them. And the reason is, it is, 9% or something? 8.2.
Yeah.
It's 8.2. Sorry, but it's pretty high up there for a And I had this by accident the first time because they had on tap at the Purple Onion, which I'm in the adjacent building to. They had on tap a thing called Lemon Space Dog by Asheville Brewing Company, but they also had Elysian Space Dust. And I asked for Space Dog, and whomever was at the bar at the time heard Space Dust and gave me that. And when it showed up, I looked at it and I was like, "This is the wrong color. This is not my beer." And then they were like, "Oh, I'll pour it out and get you another one." And I was like, "Pour it out? That sounds like no. That's wrong. You're not going to do that. I'll just drink it. It's fine. It's fine. I'll get the one I asked for next." And so then I had this and I drank the whole thing. And at the end of it, I was like, hey, that's pretty good beer.
And it's especially good beer because it's 8.2 alcohol.
It's got a lot of alcohol. It's got enough alcohol to make me forget the pine tree taste. If you want me to like an IPA, you better put some booze in it. Is all I got to,
That's fair. I actually have one here right now. Maybe I'll give it to you next time you're here, and then you have to sleep on the couch. But it's High Pines, and it's a 9% IPA.
Yeah, they actually have that one on tap right now too.
It's really good.
So I should try it.
You should definitely try it. Maybe not tonight, but
no, I don't need to try it tonight because last time I had too many high octane beers in a row, I felt miserable. That was our last beer show actually. When I felt like that, I later on that night I was like, ugh. I couldn't even eat my pizza. I was like, I went and ordered a pizza and I sat down and the pizza got in front of me and I took one bite and I put it back on the plate and I was like, no. Just gonna go home and sleep this off now.
Yeah, that's fair. That's why we haven't had another beer show. We're recovering from that one still.
Yeah, it was a mess.
But my beer theme today is everything Bill left in our refrigerator in the last couple of weeks.
Right.
So I've got here the Heavy Melon, and then that's going to be followed up by a Heavy Melon.
Right.
Yeah. If I finish that one, we've got a Heavy Melon.
That's cool. I got 3 more heavy melons for you in my fridge. So
I may have to start. I like it, but I may be done with it.
It's a little much.
Well, it's a little much the amount that I have. Like this isn't even touching because I've also been buying the same 12-pack.
Oh, right.
I haven't even touched. Like this is barely the beginning.
And as I've said about this mixed 12-pack, that's the one beer in it. It's not the one beer I won't drink. I will drink it. It's just the last beer I'll drink out of it. So it's like last week I had that mixed 12-pack over at her house and I drank a bunch of the other ones. And then I was like, here you go. You can have the melons.
And that's what I'm doing. That's what I've got. But our show is not about watermelons today. No. It's about Tropes. It's about tropes.
I see what you were trying to do there.
See what I did there? I did not succeed.
See what you didn't do there?
Just see what I didn't do there. We're talking about tropes. And when we say tropes, we mean the weird plot points that writers use in too many movies and TV shows that if it were real life, it would be really weird that all these things keep happening to people.
It'd be uncanny. You'd be like, what? Hey. And I think that's the thing about it that made me start wanted to talk about this in the first place was because I noticed how repetitive some of it was. Laura watches a lot of TV. I watch a fair amount of TV. Most of it is whatever the hell Laura recommends. And then whatever my wife's watching. Those are the two things. It's like Laura says this is good, and then my wife's just watching a thing, and I'm in the room, and so I watch that too. I noticed certain things. I noticed certain. This happens all the fucking time, right? And I was like, oh my god, this is kind of silly. And this what got me started. I'll talk about this one. This is what got me started. And I don't know if there's really a trope or if it's just a motif. I don't know what the difference would really be. But I noticed, and I said this to you, we were talking about this earlier in the week or whatever, or maybe after the show last week. But a lot of times on a show, my wife hates this thing, by the way, and this is why I noticed it, I guess, because every time it happens, I'm like, oh boy, here it goes, you know. And it's like shows that she picks, so I'm like, it's not my fault that they're on, but people puking on TV, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
She doesn't like it when people fake that, like when people just go. If I'm like being funny and I just go, you know, she's like, oh my god, don't make that noise, you know, like that bugs her, right? So people on TV are always puking, always, and there's like 4 reasons you puke on TV. One, and they're always it's a expositional thing, I guess, is what it is, right? Like it's not. I don't know if you call it a trope, but it is an expositional thing, and it's to show one of several things. Maybe it's only 3 things. 1, shit-faced. 2, you're pregnant and you haven't announced it yet.
Right.
3, you've walked into a gruesome crime scene and it's just that fucking gruesome, but it's off camera and they want you to know how gruesome it is. So, you know, and those, I don't know if anybody, you know, I guess once in a blue moon, maybe somebody actually has the fucking flu or something, but most of the time it's one of those 3 things. It's a plot device to push the story. Like, hey, we want you to know that this lady's pregnant. We're not going to say it yet. We're going to say it 2 episodes from now, but we're going to go ahead and hint at it, wink, wink, by, you know, making her puke. And like, you know, and somebody can't just go, oh my God, I'm so drunk. Like you have to show how drunk you are. How drunk that's how drunk I am, right? So anyway, that's the thing I noticed. What got me kind of started on the whole thing, like realizing, oh shit, man, there's like a lot of this like repetitive bullshit in storytelling that happens all the fucking time, over and over again. And then also the other thing was we were having a conversation. I think it was about a year ago. Me and Laura were. I was watching something, and I was unable to recall what the original thing I was watching was, but it had sort of a theme to it. And I realized this is a particular theme that I like in things, right? Like when this happens, I'm always like, ooh, this is, you know, this is cool to me. I'm always interested in it. And so I wanted to see something like that. And I said, hey, do you know anything that fits this mold that I could watch? And I asked her about a thing, and she told me a thing.
Well, and the best part about it is there are legit examples, like actually good examples, but what I told you was a obscure show from 1980s Britain.
I know, and I still looked it up and watched it on fucking YouTube because I was up for something. It was it good? No. Did it scratch an itch? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm being coy, so I guess we'll just get. I didn't want to get into too much before the.
Well, let's make that part of our. Let's make this one trope like part of our introduction here.
Okay, the teaser. That's the trope.
The teaser. Yeah, exactly. So this particular trope. So real quick before we get into it, you'll see me, and I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and I've been putting it on the social media, is jumping the shark, which is technically not a trope because it just means when a TV show went horribly wrong.
You never said it's welcome, basically.
Yes, a la Happy Days when Fonzie
actually jumped the shark.
Literally jumped a shark. So the reason I always include it when I talk tropes is because there used to be a website called jumptheshark.com, which featured a bunch of tropes. And unfortunately, it got sold a few years ago. When you go to jumptheshark.com now, it actually takes you to a TV guide. So
that's bullshit, man. That's just sad.
So they bought it. But now tvtropes.com is the place to go to look up your tropes. And
yeah, that's what the one I thought that I was using nowadays was TV tropes.
Yes. So this particular trope that I know is one of your very favorites is small town with a secret.
Yes. So small town with a secret. I don't remember what the actual thing I was watching was, but then I asked Laura about, hey, you know, I really like small town with a secret as a thing. And she says, hey, watch this BBC miniseries from years ago called Children of the Stones. And it's this quirky, weird shit about, like, there's this town that's got like a hinge around it, you know. and I don't even remember how it played out now. I remember there's something kooky was going on with the Stones, and some family moved there from out of town, and then they kind of get and all the kids were math geniuses or some shit. That was the other weird part of it, right?
For some reason, yes.
For some reason, all the kids were like doing super high level math. Like they were doing like trigonometry in like 5th grade or something.
Right.
It had something to do with the fucking Stones. But then like because what always happens inevitably is the newcomer moves into town, something weird's up. They start snooping around trying to figure out what the weird thing is, and everybody's always like really sketchy about it. We don't talk about that thing or whatever the fuck, and it's just I don't know why that appeals to me, but it does. It's always like a funny thing to watch, or not funny, but like it's interesting. It makes for good storytelling usually. Laura was pointing out before the show. I guess Stranger Things is one of those kind of sort of.
Oh, very much so. Hawkins has a huge secret with the.
It didn't start with a new kid moving to town and then being introduced into the weird thing, did it?
That it did not. What you did have was the supernatural kid that sort of was the catalyst to start it all. But
okay.
All of these tropes have
most of the time
entry.
Most of the time, the town with a secret has an outsider as the catalyst, right? Like the person who comes in, and that's they're usually the main character. Like, what the fuck is going on in this crazy town?
Right.
I pointed out that I thought a good example of this was Get Out.
Right. And it's a little bit turned on its head because it's like a family with a secret, but it's the same.
The whole town has the secret. Remember?
Well, the whole situation has a secret.
Yeah, the whole little community was like basically like in on the whole thing, and like they invite. I don't want to give too much away if you haven't seen it. You need to watch this movie. It's a good movie. It's a really great horror movie, but not a horror movie that would be off-putting to people who don't love horror.
Yes, I watched it. I love it.
It's more of a psychological thriller than a like not a gore fest horror or anything like that.
No,
yeah,
I loved it. But
mostly all up here.
Yes.
Literally all up here, actually.
Obviously, another great example of Small Town with a Secret is Twin Peaks.
Mm-hmm.
And in this instance, I mean, you have like the secret that you lead off with learning a secret about the town. Turns out it's not the big secret about the town, but you have Kyle MacLachlan's character come in, and he's actually a detective, so he has to try to figure it out. And because it's David Lynch, it just gets super weird from there.
Yeah, well, it started out super weird. I'm not, and I love hate David Lynch because on one hand, visually he creates some great things, right? Like I mean, like they make you go, wow, what's that all about? But then the thing is, at the end of any story he tells, you're like, well, what was that all about? and you'll still be asking yourself that 10 years later. And sometimes I think that's the. Sometimes I think if I chew on something long enough, like, you know what I mean? Like I'll say I've loved movies where I've been like, that movie was complete bullshit. And then 3 days later, I'm still chewing on it. And I'm like, okay, you know what? It wasn't complete bullshit because I'm still thinking about it 3 days later. And if it was dumb, I would have just fucking moved on.
Exactly.
But David Lynch has had a couple where they've been so fucking screwy that I just went, gave up on him and didn't chew on him anymore because like I don't think this can be known. I mean, and he's kind of essentially said his. I mean, they're basically he's making like these dreams. It's like your dreams, or how you wake up and your dreams don't make any sense. And then what do? You fucking forget them because they don't make any goddamn sense. And that's what I do with his movies. I usually forget them because that's fucking bullshit. And why stew over it? So anyway.
In the case of Twin Peaks specifically, he only intended to make one season of it, and the network was like, "This is really popular. We would like you to make another season." And he's like, "I don't want to do that." And they said, "You have to do that." And he's like, "Well, then I'm going to make it really fucking weird." And they're like, "Okay." And then, of course, at the end of the second season, they're like, "Never mind."
Okay, got fucking weird.
I mean, he warned them. He told them it would be weird, and
I'm surprised he got the first season made with that attitude. Actually, coming in like, I'm going to make one season, and the first season was weird enough. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what had he just done that made people think, oh, we should give this guy a fucking television show.
Yeah, I mean, he'd made Eraserhead and he'd made Blue Velvet and all those things at that time.
Yeah,
but
but
yeah, that's we like those aren't
the things that would have spoke to me as a television producer to greenlight all that shit. You know, like I would have been like, oh yeah, this is totally the kind of thing the regular audience of CBS would love to fucking watch every week. You know? I'm honestly flabbergasted it got made. I'm glad it did get made because it was totally like it opened the door to a lot of other shit. Like we wouldn't have had X-Files or Northern Exposure or a bunch of modern stuff that's kind of based on all these things.
Right.
If it hadn't been for the weirdness of Twin Peaks. So it definitely it made TV people go, fuck, we can do whatever the fuck. People don't care, you know, like people will watch it no matter what it is, and it's the truth. But I'm thankful for that. But it's almost, it's like when something's good for what it does for things in general, and aside from being good for what it is by itself. Elephant Man was probably the closest thing to a fucking like actual narrative that he ever did.
Yes, and I remember seeing that when I was a kid, and it traumatized me.
Oh, No, I saw it when I was a child too. It was on HBO for a while or something.
Yeah. And I think my brother was watching it, and he's older than me, so he was allowed to. And I think I walked in at just like the wrong moment, and I was like, "Holy shit!
Yeah,
this is terrible."
But anyway,
and I do want to mention, as far as Small Town with a Secret, I think the master of that is Stephen King, and he created an entire area of a state with a secret,
right?
And everything. I mean, he has multiple.
Right. Every town he has a secret. Yeah. You go to Darien, it's got a secret. And you go to Salem, and it's got a secret. Right.
Yes. And Haven has a secret. Everything has a secret.
Right. So yeah. That's totally.
Castle Rock has a secret.
I haven't actually watched that, and I understand it's like sort of like a big, like ties everything together sort of thing or something.
It does. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed both seasons of it, but it's fan service. It's Stephen King fans like Stephen King, and we're gonna just mush it all together for you.
Okay, so that's kind of what I heard about it, and I was like, this doesn't really seem like something I'm gonna love. So
but I enjoyed them. I enjoyed both seasons. So all right, so we should probably give a quick shout out before we move on. So I figure the one that makes the most sense here of the ones I have already on the computer. I know that a friend of yours made a movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he totally did make a movie. If I had to call what trope it is, I guess I'd say it's like an exploitation sort of thing.
Right.
If you've seen Russ Meyer's Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, if you've seen Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof, it's kind of in that milieu, but I wouldn't say it's derivative of those things. It's its own thing. But if you love those two things, you'll love this. If you like Quentin Tarantino and you like Russ Meyer and you like John Waters and that kind of like sort of trash cinema,
right?
You would love Bad Girls. It's totally up your alley. So I think it's available for download, or you can order the DVD. He's got the DVDs out now, and he'll get them right out to you.
Excellent.
I actually just had one sent to a friend of ours named Michael Keene, who does movie reviews.
Oh, yes. Good.
Got a whole channel of movie reviews. And of that kind of thing. A lot of times, a lot of trash movies he watches.
Right.
Trash, and I mean, some of it's actually entertaining as hell. But like low budget, kind of weird, freaky horror, sci-fi, thriller stuff. If you're into that, you can look up Michael Keene, Keane, on YouTube, and he's got some good reviews of that sort of stuff. Especially, he likes to review the entire catalog of. There's a company called Vinegar Syndrome who's like reissuing a lot of the like really B movies from the 80s kind of stuff. Anyway, I digress. But there you go.
There you go.
They're tropes in those things.
Exactly. All right, so we got a ton of tropes. I'm gonna bounce back and forth between ones that we both submitted.
Yeah.
And try to get as many as we can in.
All
so
right.
Let's start with this one, the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, which was huge for a while, especially in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where it actually started. I want to say, I mean, you could probably always roll it back and say there was something before this. The earliest one I remember, Melanie Griffith and Jeff, what's his name? Fucking shit, man.
Which Jeff? Jeff Bridges?
Was he one in Dumb and Dumber?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Melanie Griffith. What was that movie called?
I wasn't the one I wrote down, but I remember seeing it.
Actually, Melanie Griffith plays the Manic Dream Girl in a couple of movies.
She does.
Also, you know who else used to play that part back in the day? God damn it. Now I can't remember her name either.
Oh, Jeff Daniels is the one you're looking for.
Daniels, that's what I meant.
And it was Something Wild.
Something Wild, right. That was the first one. She was also Manic Pixie Dream Girl in Milk Money.
Yes.
Sort of.
Oh, and yes, which I saw on the list when I was...
And also kind of in Working Girl a little bit. Right?
Right. Okay.
I guess you can make the point for Desperately Seeking Susan, maybe kind of.
I think you could, yes. And it became a really big thing, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, probably some of the biggest examples of it. Anything Zooey Deschanel was in for a while.
Oh, yeah. You're getting ahead of what I was starting. No, I was going to get to her eventually, yes, because she was, before Zooey Deschanel, though, there was Parker Posey.
Right.
She was the one from when I was up and coming. Like, she was my Manic Pixie Dream Girl. And then Zooey Deschanel, which is funny, there was actually an episode of New Girl that had Parker Posey in it. And I think they were kind of playing on that whole thing a little bit, because I walked in on that episode. Again, this wasn't a show I watched. My wife watched it. She watched New Girl. And I came in one day and I was like, oh my God, that's Parker Posey. And my wife was, who the fuck is Parker Posey? And I'm like, well, she's the old girl. Like she was the new girl when I was, in high school. Like, she was the one we all fawned over. And I guess Winona Ryder for a minute.
She was the emo pixie dream girl, really.
Okay, or the goth pixie dream girl, or whatever.
Because that's what we learned over these years, is the manic pixie dream girl is actually a very harmful stereotype.
Kind of, yeah. Oh, I want to say Gina Davis played a couple of them too.
Oh yeah, it was a very popular trope for a long time.
I would say her character in The Accidental Tourist was sort of that. And actually, I don't know, but definitely in that one, I think she was. Oh, Susan Sarandon in Bull Durham.
Yes.
Kind of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl for a minute, right?
Yes.
It's basically a woman who comes into your life and shakes shit up. She's kind of, and it's sort of funny because I remember hearing this when I was in art school. There's this like Freudian theory that all relationships are essentially narcissistic in a way, because you're looking for you're looking for yourself in the other person. Although I'd say it's weird, because I think what you're really looking for is the characteristics that you don't have, kind of like you're almost looking for like something to bounce off of, which is why the Manic Pixie Dream Girl comes into play, because she's everything this person's not.
It's usually like a straight-laced dude that, follows the rules and doesn't, and and which is why it's become a negative stereotype, because it just paints women, very one-dimensional.
Well, and because it's about how she interacts with you. It's not about her as a person.
Right. She has these characters never have agency in these stories. They only are there to move the plot along for the male character.
Right. Exactly. Like she's just there to shake up this guy's life and make him do a thing and teach him something about fucking life or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. And Zooey Deschanel was in I guess a fairly popular movie about it called, what was it, 100 Days of Summer?
500 Days of Summer.
500 Days of Summer. But that one is very, it's almost critical of the whole thing in a way, because if you go back and watch it with very critical eyes, she makes it very clear at the get-go, she's not there for this dude, right? And then he keeps pushing it and pushing it.
Right.
the end, of course, he gets his heart broke because turns out, she told like what she told you was fucking true. Haha. Like, so, it's basically the dude was kind of douchey for thinking that he could like, oh, I'm going to take this girl and make her do something that she doesn't want to do. Like she says she's not into relationships or whatever the fuck. I'm going to change her mind,
Right.
When he gets his heart broke, well, it's really him that broke his heart because he's the one who decided to make her something that she wasn't. And the whole reason he was attracted to her was because she was what she fucking was. Right?
Right.
Which was unattainable.
Right.
From the get-go. So if you're attracted to unattainable, you're going to get fucking hurt because they already fucking told you that's what they are. And for you to think it's something different is on you, really, right? At the end of the day.
Exactly. And there were, Garden, Natalie Portman definitely filled that role. She was in Garden State. And probably one of the most disturbing ones, because it was based on real life people, was Almost Famous, which just spotlighted the fact that underage girls were victimized by adult male rock stars
right.
in the 60s and 70s and 80s.
Yeah, probably still, honestly.
And I'm sure still, yes.
I mean, it's just people might be a little more careful about it now because there's like I don't know. Anyway, I think actually it was Garden State was when what got the phrase coined, and the guy who coined the phrase actually hates the phrase now. Like he's sorry he ever fucking made it up.
Well, here's the thing: you made it up, and it made us stop and think about how this was a shitty trope. So,
right?
Hey, guess what?
I think he feels like it's kind of like it's demeaning in a way, and I think what bothers him is he feels like some movies have gotten miscategorized as Manic Pixie Dream Girl since then, and he's like, oh, people are overusing the thing I coined, and I wish I'd never fucking coined it for that reason.
Right.
But I get that to a degree, but it's like anything else. Like once you put the art out there, you can't retract it. It is what it is, right? So
exactly.
Well,
all right. So next up on your list, regular schmuck caught up in intrigue.
Oh my God, I love this fucking thing. I want to say, and I'm probably wrong about I think the first thing, like rolling back, not the first thing I saw it in, but the oldest thing I saw it in was probably a movie called Torn Curtain by Alfred Hitchcock. However, I feel like it might be an Agatha Christie thing, or maybe even earlier than that. But I'll say the best examples of it, the ones I love to death. Okay, there's a Bill Murray movie called The Man Who Knew Too Little. I guess actually that's a play on another Alfred Hitchcock movie called The Man Who Knew Too Much, right?
Right. Yes.
So Alfred Hitchcock did a handful of these kinds of movies where somebody gets caught up in intrigue, but I like the ones where actually it's used as a comedy instead of those are usually the ones that I just like. Haha, I love this shit. Help by the Beatles was one of them, kind of like yes. It was that. Actually, there was an episode of the Flintstones that was sort of a ripoff on Help. The only thing I remember about it was I remember that there was like a diamond or something. It was kind of like that because that's what the thing in Help was like Ringo had like a diamond ring or something. So there's something like that, very similar to that, happened on an episode of the Flintstones. And I just remember that the agents who were trying to get the diamond, their code word was like kept saying slalom. Do you remember this? They'd say slalom.
I do remember this.
And that's why I remember because it was the first time I ever heard the word slalom, and I didn't know what the fuck it meant. I thought it was just like something clever somebody was saying, and then later on I learned it meant swish, swish, swish. That's a thing. So, The Man Who Knew Too Little is one of them. Oh, recently there was that movie with the spy who dumped me. With,
yes. Melissa McCarthy.
Melissa McCarthy and no, wait, was she in? No, she wasn't in that.
No, I'm thinking of another one, which is a very similar premise.
No, The Spy Who Dumped Me had the girl who's on Saturday Night Live now, who's in a movie who's in Ghostbusters.
Yes, Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon and Mila Kunis.
Yes,
that was entertaining as hell. There's been a bunch of them, but those, usually when it's played for laughs is when I think it's a funny trope. If I see a comedy coming out and it's like dumb schmuck caught up in intrigue, I'm like, oh, I love that shit. I'll go see that.
And TV show, because my platform of interest is TV. I had two examples that I absolutely love with this. British TV show called The Wrong Mans with
Chuck was one of them.
And Chuck is on my list. Yes, Chuck and The Wrong Mans.
Okay.
Did you ever watch The Wrong Mans?
I didn't. Did I? I might have seen one episode, maybe.
It's James Corden and a tall, lanky guy that I used to remember his name. And they both end up in this, just impossible situation.
Was it the tall, lanky guy from Detectorists?
No, not that guy.
Okay.
But another tall, lanky guy that looks like him.
10 actors in the UK.
No, I know this guy's first name is Matthew with one T because that's what I remember because nobody spells Matthew with one T. And I can't remember what his last name is. But he is in this movie with James Corden. And James Corden, I mean, I know you were a fan of James Corden before he became an American late night talk show host.
I loved Gavin and Stacey.
From Gavin and Stacey, right? And The Wrong Mans is just, it's hilarious. And Chuck, of course, excellent example. A guy that works at he's basically a part of the nerd herd, like what you would see at like a Geek Squad, like you would see it at Best Buy, except it's called Buy More. And right. Suddenly he's thrust into this secret mission because a computer is downloaded into his brain. And if you've never watched Chuck, it is top notch.
It's interesting. My wife actually watched that one, and so I watched it with her. That was one of the ones where I came in the room and she was watching it. But it's entertaining because, again, it was a trope I liked. So I was like, haha, this is a cool trope. I like this. I'll watch this. Sometimes she's watching stuff and I'm just like, I'm a passerby. Like I come in and out. I don't care about Grey's Anatomy. I mean, I watch it every 5th episode and then I say, oh, what happened with they're together now? Okay, interesting. And that's about where I'm at. Like Catch Me Up, and that's okay. I don't really care that much. Although I will say this, as far as medical shows kind of have their own tropes too. And I saw this was a funny meme I actually saw this week, and it said on a medical show, somebody comes in and they're like, I have this crazy thing, and they're like, we're gonna run every test on earth until we figure out what is wrong with you.
Yeah.
And in real life, they're like, you're making it up. Go home and take some pills.
Exactly. Take some aspirin, rest. Exactly.
You need to lose weight, get some exercise, and learn to deal with it.
Exactly. All right. So there is no way we're going to get to most of these. So I'm going to skip to.
It's going to be one of those things where we're going to have like a part 3 eventually.
We will have to. We might even do it. We might even do it right after I get back from Michigan because there are so many tropes, and I don't have a theme for that day. So maybe we'll just do
very well.
We'll trade in part 2.
Hey, this will make an interesting trope because at the end of this one, you can just go ... to be continued.
That's right. Oh, if only I'd made that, but I didn't know we were going to do that.
Oh.
But here's one. Here's a trope I absolutely hate.
Okay.
I hate it with an absolute passion. Save the plot, have a baby. So either a character has a baby for no apparent reason, except maybe the actor was pregnant, maybe they just needed ratings boost. Or you can also have save the plot, add a child. So sometimes it's like a random child.
Right.
So the most common or the 2 biggest examples, The Cosby Show did it. When Rudy aged out, so they brought in Raven Simone as whatever her character's name is. Oh yes, Olivia. And then the Brady Bunch, of course, with Oliver.
It's horrible though for 5 minutes.
Right, for just like a half a second. And one of the reasons I love this show, Dinosaurs, because I hate this trope. I hate it so much. But Dinosaurs was like a commentary on, American cultural. And they started almost immediately with a horrible baby. And he was designed to be horrible. And you're supposed to hate him. But the problem was in all the promos and all the everything, people loved that freaking character. And he became like larger than life. But that wasn't the point of the baby.
Okay. So he was basically a goof on the Add a Baby. I know I've never watched Dinosaurs. I've only seen the commercials.
It
looked stupid as shit to me back in the day when it aired, right? And I was like,
"Fuck the fucking
baby!" And yeah, and so I guess I just didn't get that it was a parody of whatever it was. But
Absolutely. So there's a great part of the series where the two-legged dinosaurs go to war with the four-legged dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And it's they go to war, and war stands for "we are right." And it's just the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen. So, what I love about that is it knows that it's making fun of that trope, and it does it on purpose, and it does it with a billion other things.
I see.
So it's awesome. But
yeah, you didn't mention the other one, the other big show that did it.
Well, I don't know if that's the one I was going to mention. I was going to mention Friends.
Oh, they had a baby?
Ross, yes, they did. Ross and Rachel had a baby.
I am incredulous. I never fucking watched Friends. I'm one of those people who's like I get to be aloof. Like I never fucking watched Friends because I didn't. It didn't interest me at the time, and I've seen it in reruns a couple of times, I'll say in retrospect, Laugh Track is the worst fucking thing ever, and I can't pick up a new show that has Laugh Track. Like I watched a few things that had it back in the day, but when I try to watch anything now that has it, I'm like, ugh, I'm done with this shit already. Like I just can't. So. I'll walk through the room, and my stepdaughter loves Friends so much. She's watched it 7 or 8 times all the way through. But I did not realize it had a baby in it at all.
Yes, it does. So what were you going to say? What were you going to mention?
I was going to mention Cousin Oliver.
Oh, yeah. Cousin Oliver.
Was that the Brady Bunch?
Yep, that was Brady Bunch.
Okay, I feel like there was one on the Partridge Family too, which was just a bad ripoff of the Brady Bunch, to be honest.
Yes, I did. I never watched the Partridge Family, so I mean, I know that Cassidy was on it, and
it didn't. It's funny because I like music, but the Partridge Family did not interest me at all. Like I felt like even as a child when I'd see reruns of it, I'd like, this is just a bad fucking knockoff of. But they did it on both Growing Pains and Family Ties. Both did it.
Yes, they did. I was actually going to mention both of those. Yes.
Like the 7th or 8th season, they were like, "Oh, here we'll reinvigorate it by putting a kid on here."
Yes. And what was this? So Family Ties and Growing Pains. Yeah, Growing Pains is the one I was thinking of. Yes, for sure. And they had her name was Ashley, and she was the adorable little baby, but now she's like, I always find it funny and interesting when the babies from these shows, like they were supposed to be precocious little kids, are now like successful actors. She's been in a bunch of things that I thought were really good. But more importantly is Raven Simone. Obviously, she had her own show, right? That's So Raven. But she's also on the show Blackish as the main character's sister, and she's awesome in it.
I like Raven Simone, although I hated That's So Raven because I don't like anything that Disney Channel puts out because it's all the writers on Disney Channel suck. They're the worst. They write. I mean, I guess they're writing for 12-year-olds, so that But I've had to sit through some of it, and I've always been like, "Oh my god, these jokes are terrible." And I never got this because so there was a show called That's So Raven, and then after Raven left, they took the rest of the characters and spun them into another show. Like her little brother and her dad were like, the dad became the chef for the White House or something like that. Did you ever see this?
No, I never watched it.
It was called.
I was so far away from that demographic though. Without children, like I didn't have any reason to watch any of that.
So Raven would special guest once every 12 episodes or something like that. But here's the thing: the mother fucking disappeared, and they never explained it. They didn't say, "Hey, we got a divorce." They didn't say, "Hey, she died." Just dad and the kid moved to the fucking White House. Antics ensued. I hate it. This is the thing that the TV will do sometimes is they'll like decide a character is not important, and they'll just whatever. Fuck them.
Never mind.
Yeah, they're gone. Fuck them. Like one of the kids on Family Matters just disappeared one season, and nobody ever like said squat about it. But like I'm like one of those kids disappeared, and that's like, what the shit. Like I want some explanation. You can't just write a character out and not explain it. You got to say something. Say, "Hey, alligator ate them." Okay.
They went to boarding school.
Whatever. Say some damn thing. Just explain it, and let's move on. But you can't just like pretend like it wasn't important because you didn't want to pay them. You're like, "Oh my god, we got too many people on payroll. That character is unimportant. Let's just write them out." We didn't need a middle child. That's bullshit. Like,
we did not need him. child. You never do. You never do. Apologies to my brother. You never need the middle child. All right. I want to get back to one of yours, but we talked about this one right before the show. And the reason I have to talk about it is because it's my only opportunity to use the following graphic.
All right.
Characters you don't see. So a character that is a big part of the show and a very important, part of the situation, but like the supposed comedy of it is that they're absent, like you only hear their disembodied voice or whatever, which it's supposed to be funny, right? But every TV show has done it to one way or another, so it's not funny anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to introduce the character?
Well, let's do this to introduce the character, shall we?
Okay. And that's because this show takes place outside of Detroit, Michigan, and the show was
Home Improvement.
Home Improvement, that's right.
starring Tim Allen.
And the character we're talking about was Wilson, who was the next door neighbor, who we never saw except for like this much of him.
Right.
He was always talking over the fence. So it became a thing, like it was a bit that they did every week. Like, hey, here's the bit. You'll never see this guy. I think they finally showed him like the last episode.
I think they did. And it was a little bit funny every once in a while where they would have him they would encounter him in another location and they would always have him stand behind something.
They find a way to like have him hidden. Yeah. And yeah, it was like that was actually when it would become funny, was when you would take the situation and change it, but still keep the sort of the trope or the meme of the whole thing, and then haha, okay, they took it but they rearranged it in a way.
Yes.
It's like the opening scene of that Austin Powers movie where he keeps trying to hide his junk everywhere,
Exactly. Exactly. Those are movies that they were so freaking funny when I watched them the first time, and now I'm like, what?
I know, like I've thought about it. Like, I wonder if those are still like I remembered enjoying them, but I wonder if they're funny all this time later. Like, I feel like they won't be.
Right. And hey, so here's another running joke of a character we never saw from Friends, Ugly Naked Guy. He was referenced, multiple episodes. We never saw him.
Mm.
And then you mentioned before the show Howard's mom on Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. She just yelled from the other room.
Yeah, and that was the comedy, right?
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, I got a brisket made," or
wow, your impression is spot on. Good job.
That's all you'd hear. And I remember it was like a thing because the actual actress who did the voice died, and they had to kill off the character because, although it was funny because then they had a bit also because his wife would, when she was angry, do a similar voice. Normally she talked like Minnie Mouse, and then when she would get angry, she would scream like Howard's mom.
Right.
And
that was supposed to be funny.
It was what we considered funny. Right. And then of course the laugh track would roll to let us know that it was supposed to be funny.
Correct. Yes. Big Bang Theory is one of those shows that I did spend some time watching, and then I learned to really hate it. It's like,
same. I actually watched it all the way to the end. It was because I was invested in the characters and their drama, but I had quit thinking it was funny like 4 seasons ago. I wasn't watching it for comedy. And you know what really enlightened me was I saw this bit on YouTube where somebody like edited out the laugh track. Have you ever seen that?
No, but I can't imagine. Yeah, I have to imagine at that moment. It's just
like this. So Raj enters a room. Someone says something mildly racist about Indian people. There's dead silence.
Isn't that right? Exactly.
Raj says something sexist. There's silence. And it makes you really like stop and go, fuck, this show's messed up.
Yeah.
when there's no laugh track after it, you're like, whoa, that's weird. And then somebody, even funnier, somebody went back and did the same thing, except for laugh track, except for all the laughs are Ricky Gervais. It's like they say a thing and then it's like Ricky Gervais going, you're just like, oh God, this It's the stupidest thing ever. And that actually was the last show with the laugh track I watched. And I realized I hated laugh track about halfway through that program. I was like, I'm never watching this shit again. I don't like any time when somebody would tell me a good, like sometimes Netflix would be like, oh, you like this? You should check out this. Because I watched a lot of British programs. And it was like, you need to watch Coupling. It kept saying, you need to watch Coupling. It's like the British Seinfeld. I watched the first episode and like 2 seconds into it, it's like, ha ha ha. And I'm like, all right, I'm done.
No, it's funny because I recommended to you a British comedy, Miranda, and you asked me if it had a laugh track, and I was actively watching it, and I couldn't have told you. And it does, but I found that except for when the joke was very specifically British and I didn't understand it, for the most part, I was laughing where the laugh track was anyway.
It doesn't bother you as much if you were laughing when the laugh track plays.
Yes, and it wasn't like the laugh track prompted me. I already thought the shit was funny.
Right, but I really hate it on things. Like I said, if I'm laughing already, I guess I don't even notice it because I'm laughing. But if it's just happening at random, I'm always like, what the hell? Like this is no, I can't be coerced into laughing at this thing.
Right, and. But for characters you don't see, we also should mention, like, probably the original character you don't see is the teachers on the Charlie Brown specials.
Right.
Which not only do you not see, or the adults, I should say, not just teachers, any adult.
Yeah. You also just get, you don't hear them either. Because they're inconsequential to the plot. So it's just wah, 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 and you're like, okay.
Which has totally become not just a trope, but it's become a cultural phenomenon. Like anytime we talk about something inconsequential or, like we use that sound like as a culture.
Yeah, no, there was actually, I want to say it was Dishwalla maybe had a song called Charlie Brown's Teacher. And it was about that. It was about somebody talking, but not really having anything to say or something like that. And so it's being like Charlie Brown's teacher.
Right.
So,
All right, let's see. What can we do super quick? Well, here's one that has a couple of decent. I will probably have to cut us off, but Hitman with a Heart of Gold.
Oh my God! So I've been on a jag actually watching shows with my son. We've been watching a lot of movies. He's actually thinking about a career in film, and so I've had like a list of films I think he needs to see for canon reasons. But we've been on a jag of watching Hitman with a Heart of Gold, which is Leon the Professional. We watched The Matador with the guy from James Bond.
The guy from James Bond.
Hold on. John Wick, kind of, sort of, but not really. He's a hitman with a softer side. He's got a thing he's passionate about.
And there are always layers to these tropes.
Sure.
People
obviously, I mean, like you're a hitman, so you kill people. Like you've got a certain amount of like hard exterior, right? But there's always like this. There's this one thing you're soft about. Like there's a thing that you're passionate about that you'll be like, oh my God, like no, that's a line I don't cross. And that's what makes the character endearing, right? Is that they have a thing,
right?
So there's a lot of those, and I've just been on a serious jag about watching that kind of stuff lately. So
there's a movie. So I have a short list here, but there's a movie that you made me think of. That is it. Hold on. Yes. Would this be considered that? Hold on real quick because I can tell you. Well, at least it's adjacent, if not, it's adjacent. Is the movie The Mexican, starring Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts? And neither of them. What'd you say?
Never saw it.
Oh, it's good. It's really good, or at least I have fond memories. It came out in 2001. But it was one of the last movies that James Gandolfini made. And if I recall correctly, his character is sort of a lovable hitman, sort of. And there's there's mob ties and stuff.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with Val Kilmer.
Oh, yes.
That was funny. We watched that one too recently.
And as far as TV goes, I think the characters that I would put into this category would be Mike Emmentaler from Breaking Bad, right? So he's the hitman, but he also, he takes care of his granddaughter, and he so
absolutely,
he totally fits into that.
He's lovable. He's lovable in his way, and it was like a very hit and miss when whatever happened to him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Plus, for spoiler reasons.
And I'm actually not even done. I'm almost done with the series now, but I'm not. I know what happened to him, but I'm not done with the whole series yet. I'm close. And the other one that came up when I was researching, and I hadn't thought of it this way, also because I have other opinions about this particular show, but Arya Stark from Game of Thrones, right? So she trains to be an assassin, and then she wants to kill all these people, but then she realizes that she actually is not just a faceless killer, so she doesn't.
Right. That is truly. Yep, you're right. That she is the hitman with a heart of gold, just in medieval times, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean,
all right. So we have a bunch more. So I think we might, for the first time ever, resume this conversation in 2 weeks, because I didn't know what we were doing then. Anyway, and so this will give us a chance to wrap up this topic. So this is going to be a 2-part episode, and I wish I had I wish I had a graphic to demonstrate that, but I do not. But so I do also. We don't have a mailbag this week, but Bill, I know that you have something extra.
Yeah, I just want to take a minute to talk about a thing that's going on in our world, and that thing is still fucking COVID. And why is that still a fucking thing? Because some people won't get their goddamn shots. And I know, honestly, I'm probably preaching to the choir here, because my viewership, I'm sure you've all got your damn shots. But if you didn't, shame on you. And also, fuck you, and I hope you die. And I mean, that's a little harsh, but come on. Go get a fucking shot already. It's very easy. The government's giving them away for fucking free. Like, it's the only free medicine you're going to get for years. Am I right? Like,
right. And
you don't
imagine how expensive COVID treatment's going to be long term.
Think about it. Like, just do a pros and cons thing on it, and think about how much is it going to cost me if I'm in the hospital, losing my entire goddamn life savings, going on the respirator, versus a free fucking shot that I can go down to CVS and ask for. Boom, 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 boom. I think you'll find that the free shot might win out. So I guess that's my thing. My things that are extras. Not only that, it's just that, okay, so first off, I'm mad because we're on the verge of, like, I got things coming up that I'm looking forward to. And those things are endangered by the fact that there's going to be a rise in COVID cases. And that pisses me off. But whether or not there's a thing that I'm interested in that's coming up that you can not fuck up, there are things you're interested in. I goddamn guarantee it. Do you like football? Do you like college football? Any of the footballs probably going to get canceled again this year, because so many of the fucking football players I've heard bragging about how they didn't get their damn shot. And no, I'm not getting any damn shots because I'm a big tough football player, and that guy's going to be dead. That prize quarterback that they just hired for $1 bazillion, dead. Fucking dead. And you know what? Fuck that guy. I don't even give a shit. I'm done with it. Because you know what? You've all been offered a free fucking shot that would cure this shit, but you said, no way, I don't want it because 5G or whatever the fuck bullshit you believe in. So fuck you. I don't care. Fucking die. All of you fucking die. You know what that means? It means less people who are dumbasses voting next time. Good. Fucking good riddance. I don't give a shit. Good day. I'm done. It's been like fucking 6 months since you could get this shot. So I don't care anymore. Like, I would feel sorry for you back in, like, if you had died in, like, February from COVID, I'd have been like, oh, my God, that's terrible. But now I'm like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And I hope you go to hell if there is such a thing. But I doubt there is. Because there's no justice in this goddamn world. Anyway, there's my rant for today. That's my things that are extra. Get your fucking shot or die, and I don't give a fuck.
Yes. And also, I would like you to do that because part of the reason there are breakthrough cases in vaccinated people is because they're around unvaccinated people who didn't give a fuck.
Oh my God. And that's the part I didn't even get to, is that the thing's going to mutate 4 more fucking times because you people didn't get your goddamn shot.
Yeah. No.
And let me tell you this, number 4 is going to be shot resistant, and we're all going to fucking die. And that's going to be that. And the only good part about that is then that global warming will end because we're going to be gone.
That's true. The rabbits will rise.
Yeah. I mean, the radioactive rabbits, because all the nuclear plants are going to melt down about 60 days out from us croaking, you know.
That's true.
That's a thing. And I'm glad that The Last Man on Earth addressed that. There's a trope that we didn't get to. We'll talk about next time. The end of the world thing.
That's yes, indeed.
Write that down. We'll talk about it next time. To be continued on the
be continued in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
We are off.
She's going to Michigan.
I am. You know what happens there? I came from the Midwest, and now I return.
They make pizza funny. I don't know.
They do make pizza. They make delicious pizza funny. So I'm okay with that. All right. So we are done for the day. We will see you all in 2 weeks. Oh, you got to take us away, Bill. We got a whole end of the show that we need to
do. Bill Has Opinions is produced and engineered by Laura the Boy. The opinions expressed by Bill are not necessarily those of her, and hers are not expressed by him, whatever, except for when they agreed, and then they were, and they don't have anything to do with the people that we like plugged because they're not even paying us. Like you know, they can't even fire us because it's a free plug. Anyway, be sure to like and subscribe if you're on the YouTube, and be sure to follow us on the Facebook and hashtag Opinion Gang if you say anything about us on any of the social medias, and you can send us an email or whatever. Reach out to us any way you want with a mailbag question or a suggestion for a show in the future. Although next week, or not next week, but 2 weeks from now, to be continued, more tropes. There we go. And we'll see you then at 7 o'clock 2 weeks from now.
Yes. Bye, everybody.
See you.
We love you.